Hey there, how's it going? I'm Jake Yoder, and I'm the host of Behind the Cutscenes, a video game podcast. Welcome back! Hey, so glad that you made it here to episode 2. Now I want you to bear with me a little bit on this intro. I've got a bit of a cold right now. Don't think it's the big COV, but just a little bit stuffy, little bit of congestion. So apologies if you can hear that in my voice. Now this week we've got on Casey Donnellan, the indie games developer behind Kill It With Fire, which is a really fun and goofy game that we talk a lot about in this podcast, where you kill spiders with fire and a whole bunch of other goofy things. Casey is a really cool guy. I've gotten to talk to him a few times, and he's always been super nice. Now, you will notice that the audio of this episode is better than last time. Hey, it's not echoey because I recorded it over Discord. You might also pick up through our conversation that I recorded this way back in October. Yeah, I know. I've been working on this podcast for a while, and I wanted to get some in the bank. And this was actually the first episode I recorded. And then a lot of life stuff happened, but now here we are, finally listening to the recording. So it is a little bit dated, a little bit old, but I will, of course, update it with any new information that needs to be added at the end, or hey, right here. If you listened to episode 1, thank you so much. Got some really nice notes from friends and stuff about that episode. I will say, a reminder to follow me on Facebook at Jake Yoder Entertainment. You can also follow the podcast on Twitter at Behind Cutscenes, and you can follow me on Twitter at Jakey Wakey. All right, before we get into today's show, let's talk about today's sponsor, the coffee I'm drinking right now. Coffee is great, and I love it, and it helps me get through. So thanks, coffee, for your promotion of Behind the Cutscenes. Definitely wouldn't be able to do the show without you. All right, jokes aside, let's get into today's conversation with Casey Donnellan.
I guess I'll start out. How you been doing, man? It has been about 2 months, or give or take, since I've talked to you. So how are you?
I'm doing really well. The game seems to be doing great. Lots of positive reviews. I put out a pretty substantial update. I think it was just earlier in October that added a couple of new weapons and an arachnophobia mode to the game.
Yeah, I saw that.
And some other things too. Yeah, I'm probably gonna be doing a little bit more on Kill It With Fire also in the future.
Yeah, that's what I guess let's go ahead, and to anyone listening that doesn't know who you are, give a little brief summary of you and why you're here today, I guess.
Sure. Yeah, my name is Casey Donnellan, and I am the developer of Kill It With Fire, a game. It's on Steam and the Epic Game Store right now. It's all about hunting down spiders and killing them in ridiculous ways that end up causing a lot of collateral damage, basically. So you end up, getting the spiders, but then when you're done, you kind of look around and, oh no, what have I done? Everything's destroyed. It's a very silly game.
For sure. Since I've talked to you last, I have actually gotten my hands on Kill It With Fire. I feel like I told you I didn't think my laptop would be able to handle it because I am more of a console guy. But I thought, oh, you know what? I want to try it out and see if I can.
Oh, awesome.
See if it will run it. And on the medium setting, it actually runs okay. So I was messing around with it actually earlier today, and it is every bit as crazy as I thought it looked. Oh, and then there's so many good moments that are just created, I don't know, naturally in the game. Like the very first time, obviously, I mean, the first time you see a spider, it's expected. So you're like, okay, there's a spider. But the first time that you pick up an object and turn it and you see the spider there and the music jump scares you. And
yeah,
I jumped.
I mean, it really
so
kind
hard.
of plays around with that trope of fear, unreasonable fears. I mean, I guess that's what a phobia really is. It's an unreasonable fear, but you're scared of this. Normal spiders basically can't hurt you. maybe unless you're in
Right.
like Australia, where you happen to run into like a brown recluse or a black widow or something.
Right.
But yet, like, most of us, are pretty creeped out by them still, and it translates to a game form where even in the game they can't hurt you.
Yeah, for sure. I was about to say I haven't completed the game yet, but I've had no spider try and attack me. They just run away. And yet every time you see it, I mean, even though, the game is telling you to kill them, the first reaction is, oh God, I need to kill that, which I feel like is a lot of people's first reaction just in life, like you were saying, with spiders or bugs of any kind. But it is a bit unnatural. Yeah, because if you find a spider in real life or in the game, they just kind of run away.
Yeah, but later on in the game, there's like some spiders that, they can't actually hurt you, but they do more things to like scare you. Basically, one of them will jump at you, and one of them shoots a web at you.
Oh no!
That's about it. That's about the extent of what they'll do to you.
I mean, I also jumped. I was going to say I killed a spider earlier and it just exploded with like the baby spiders. And that also made me jump, perhaps unreasonably. I was just not expecting that. Because that's the worst. In real life, if you ever like kill a spider and then you have all the baby spiders, in the game, there's only like 4 or 5. But you do that in like real life, oh my God, there's like a million spiders that come off.
Then you really do need to burn your house down.
I could not. If that happened in my house, or even worse, my little apartment that I live in right now, I would never feel safe. I was going to say, the game also gives me kind of the feel of what I have right now, because I live in the middle of the city in Knoxville and in an older building. So it's not bad. It's not bug infested, but there is definitely the chance to have bugs every now and then. And every single time I find a little roach or even just like a little undefined creepy crawly, I feel like I need to pick up every single thing in my apartment and examine it, just like the game.
I think that one of the major like themes of the game is that it's worse to not see the spiders in a way.
Oh yeah.
Than it is to see them. Like, to know that they're there, but to be completely unaware of where they are is actually a lot worse.
I probably did this to myself, but I feel like a lot of people will do this in the game too. I just naturally, because I am allowed to in this game, I feel like I pick everything up and just throw it all over the place, which makes things so much worse for me.
Yeah.
Because then the spiders that are black are out there and there's stuff just all around the room. And so it becomes so much harder to find this spider.
Yeah, and if you start burning stuff, it gets even worse still, because you leave all these like black scorch marks that are the same color as the black spiders. It can be difficult to pick out the spider. I mean, I guess maybe this isn't like really good game design. Sometimes I like wonder, but it's kind of part of the joke of the game is like you're biting your nose to spite your face or something like that. Yeah, like you're absolutely making things worse the whole game. But you just don't care. And in the third level, it asks you to find all these tools that are scattered all over the garage and put them on a pegboard so they're like nice and organized. But also in the garage, there's these like exploding barrels, just your typical bog standard video game exploding barrels. And inevitably, you will end up shooting those barrels, and the garage, like, it goes from being like pretty easy to find the tools to being like really hard to find them after there's just like debris everywhere from exploding the barrels.
I mean, I can imagine. But that's one thing I love about Kill It With Fire is that's like the whole point.
Right.
Like, if you couldn't do stuff like that, I don't think it would be nearly as much fun.
Right. There's a level that's like these beautiful gardens with a hedge maze and the destruction that's possible there. Like, you can burn all of the hedges, burn them away, get rid of all the grass, get rid of all the flowers. And so, it starts off this like very beautiful, pristine setting. But by the time you've gone through it, you've like cut a literal swath of destruction through this level.
It's just a gardener's nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you mentioned a little bit, but how has the post launch been? Has it been good? Has reception been good?
Definitely. There's like 96% of them positive. So
Nice.
I'm pretty happy with that.
Well, I'm glad reception has been really good. Like I said, I was really happy I finally got to play it, and I think it's great. I think it's a lot of fun. How much does like do Metacritic and like quote unquote official critic reviews matter to you? Like, are those any more important to you than just those normal Steam reviews, or you know?
It would be great, I suppose, if the game had like a really high Metacritic score. It shows it on the Steam page, but at the same time, like, I kind of don't care.
Yeah.
Like, it's a little mysterious to me, like why professional reviewers even reviewed it. Seriously, because like there are games that have come out that are larger that just like don't have Metacritic scores.
Weird.
Yeah,
Let me see. I'm gonna check this out. How many? Got 14 critic reviews. That's not bad.
yeah. So I'm not really sure like why they chose to review it. And there's, if you look at it, there's certainly like one guy that played it and like really didn't like it, and
Yeah.
it like really, with 14 reviews, like you throw one of those in the mix and it like really has an effect on your score. So
Oh, for sure.
you know, I think it's kind of one of those games where like if you're not really like interested in the premise at all, you're not going to get anything out of it.
Right.
But then you review it anyway. I don't know.
I mean, having worked at some of these small sites, it's really weird how they work, because even some of the ones that get on Metacritic, because at least one of the sites that I've written for was pretty small, and it was on Metacritic. And I don't know if I'll keep this in the show because I don't want people being mad at me, but it is just like there'll be a very small staff running it, and they'll just kind of review whatever they can get their hands on, just to try and get more stuff out. And so they do end up reviewing or being assigned, because I know I was definitely assigned while I was working at one of these sites. I was assigned games that I couldn't care less about. But they
Yeah.
were like, hey, we need you to do this because nobody else can. So I think it helps if you've got obviously not every single gaming site or whatever is going to be IGN with like lots of people, but I think it does help to be like, oh, okay, this is a, kind of physics based, funny, game about killing spiders or whatever. Are you into this kind of game? Like, is this a game that you like? Like, yes, no. Because that's the thing. It's like you put FIFA in front of me, and I'm not going to like it.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think what I'm more interested in is maybe like reading a critic's analysis.
Mm-hmm.
But the scoring, it just doesn't make sense. Because
it makes no sense, dude. I'm sorry, not to interrupt you, but
I mean,
agree.
it's like, Kill It With Fire, by all measures, it's a pretty small game, but you're kind of being graded on the same rubric as like Cyberpunk or something,
Yeah. A game which took like 10 years to make and has like hundreds of millions of dollars put into it.
Yeah, so like, two different critics could give those games the same score.
But you can't.
But like,
you
what
can't
does that
really
mean?
use
It doesn't
that.
mean anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm so back and forth between how I feel about scores, because as someone who does a lot of reviews themselves and is, I guess, an quote unquote like gaming critic or like gaming journalist, whatever. I'm so back and forth because as an audience member, I completely understand and feel the laziness of wanting to just go to the bottom of a review or skip to the end of a video to be like, okay, what did this person give it? How did they grade it? Like, I understand that. I feel that. And it is satisfying to be like, oh, I gave Red Dead Redemption 2 a 9.5 out of 10. But also, if it's like a number or a letter grade, like those are completely meaningless, especially if you don't listen to what the person actually has to say. Like it's what's in the text that is meaningful. But now, especially because of Metacritic, because now everybody's so obsessed with Metacritic, even publishers at this point, it feels like, everybody's so obsessed with that it's so much weight goes around what a game gets on Metacritic, or, what a reviewer gives a game.
Well, I mean, not for indie games, certainly.
You mean like from the publisher side, or like
just
in general?
Just in general, I think. I think that, there's a lot of indie games that come out that just don't have Metacritic scores, period.
That's true.
And, some of them still do pretty well.
I don't know. It's just like, it's a constant back and forth, because it feels like, I feel like as a reviewer, at least, like, I feel like I almost have to give my games, or like if I have to score my reviews with something, because the people quote unquote demand it, at least like on YouTube or like stuff like that. You know what I mean? And when I was talking about publishers, I just mean like how AAA publishers will like give their developers like bonuses based on Metacritic scores and stuff.
Yeah, that may still be true. I don't know. I'm not really. I have heard that, but I'm not really privy to like if that still happens or anything like that.
I was about to say, I'm the same way. Like, I'm just hearsay. Like, it's not like I have any insider knowledge on that.
Yeah. I mean, I think probably, especially for like a smaller shop, review shop, the best reason to give a game a score is probably so you get listed on Metacritic, so that it drives more traffic to your page.
Yeah, no, you're exactly right there. Yeah.
So like whether or not it's the right thing to do, people are doing it because it's going to help them. So
I guess going off of that, I was looking through the community page of Kill It With a Fire, and I noticed a few posts, and I wanted to get your official weigh in. Very serious question. Does Kill It With Fire encourage animal cruelty to spiders?
I've seen that page, or that topic. I'm going to say no. I don't feel like Kill It With Fire encourages animal cruelty any more than Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto encourages murder.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's hard reading those posts, because I saw like 3 posts on there that were talking about it, and it's hard to tell if they're being facetious or not.
Yeah, I kind of have a don't feed the trolls mentality for that kind of stuff. Like if you're coming to the forums on Kill It With Fire to make a post like that, you've come with an axe to grind, and you're just coming to stir up trouble.
So, I guess let's talk a little bit about your career before Kill It With Fire, because I know you and I have talked about it a little bit, but just so people can get a little bit of background on you, what else have you done?
Sure. The first like professional game that I worked on was a mobile game at a company called Certain Affinity. They're in Austin. That's where I'm based, Austin, Texas. And this was, we started on it all the way back in 2012, kind of when the mobile boom was really happening. But I don't think the game came out until like 2015, which is like a really long time to work on a mobile game. 2014, actually. I think it was maybe a little bit of a case of like not striking while the iron was hot. The game was called Age of Booty Tactics. Which is a ridiculous title. It was like they had released a game previously called Age of Booty on Xbox Live Arcade. So this was like on the original Xbox, or maybe on the 360. I can't remember. It was like kind of a cool, like, imagine like a super light MOBA, but with pirates. Age of Booty Tactics was kind of like Hero Academy, which I don't know if anybody even remembers that game anymore. It was like the most successful of this type of game, I guess. Turn-based tactical strategy. Anyway, it was free to play. It didn't do super well, but it was a fun experience, and that's kind of where I cut my teeth making games, and I learned how to use Unity for that project. Then I worked on Doom for a while, the one that came out in 2016, which was pretty cool. It was interesting getting exposed to like such a large code base and kind of learning the ropes. Just like navigating a code base that large,
Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
has its own struggles. So that was cool. And then I had the opportunity to be the second person in the door at Rooster Teeth Games. So a guy that I had worked on Age of Booty with, Michael Hadwin, he went kind of like way back with the guys that founded Rooster Teeth. And for those of you that have never heard of Rooster Teeth, they made this show called Red versus Blue, which was like a Halo machinima show. I mean, I think they were making this show like before YouTube existed. And they were like really, Rooster Teeth ended up being like one of the first groups on the platform. And they make a lot of great content, but like a lot of their success was just purely due to that. Like, you know, these guys were at the right place at the right time. And they ended up making another show called Ruby, which was like, it was totally original IP and assets and everything, unlike Red versus Blue. And it's kind of like an anime, but with 3D models. A lot of people like it.
Yeah, impossible to escape if you're in the anime fandom at all.
Yeah, it's definitely Rooster Teeth's kind of like headline act these days.
Mm-hmm.
And they were trying to make a game based on Ruby. And this guy named Jordan Scott had made like a fan game, and Rooster Teeth was like, "Oh, that game's pretty cool. Why don't we just hire you to finish it?" But he was just like one guy, and he's an amazing animator, and really good at like making like effects and doing all kinds of things, honestly. But actually, like shipping a game is like a different set of skills. So they started building this team, and they hired Michael Hadwin to kind of head it up, and he hired me, and we hired several other people, and we kind of took Jordan's, I won't call it a prototype, it was more than a prototype, but we took that and fleshed it out into a full game, really in the space of about a year. I think at the end, maybe we had about 8 people. That game was pretty wildly successful. You know, they had the chance to just like market it right to the target audience by like running a bumper on the show, and did really well. We hired a company called Panic Button to port it to Xbox and PlayStation, and did pretty good on those platforms too. As far as I know, it's still selling even.
Oh, I can imagine. I mean, I'm a sucker for licensed games. Something about being able to play something that I already know and love. I don't know, even if it's not like the best game out there, like I'm a sucker for it. And I know lots of people are too. And Ruby has such a dedicated fan base. So I'm not surprised to hear that it went over
so like
well.
Kill It With Fire, for instance, came out a couple of months ago, and it has 375 reviews. Ruby Grim Eclipse on Steam, which is only one of the platforms that it's on, it has over 9,000, to use some anime parlance reviews. It was pretty successful. Then we started working on another game called Vicious Circle. Well, it wasn't called that from the beginning, but that's what it ended up becoming. And we switched to Unreal, which is, you know, kind of what I work in these days. And Vicious Circle was a kind of a 4v1 type of game, except it was a very unusual game and really cool in a lot of ways, but we definitely like didn't find our audience. Let's say that. And Rooster Teeth afterwards kind of decided to like pull back from making games. So it was around then when I started working on Kill It With Fire.
You mentioned a little bit you've been updating Kill It With Fire and stuff, but what else does the future hold for you? Is it Kill It With Fire 2? Is it more updates for Kill It With Fire? Is it a different project entirely?
I don't know if I can really go into it, unfortunately.
All right. That's kind of exciting.
I can guarantee that there will be there's going to be at least like one more update to Kill It With Fire.
All right, cool.
So it's not like I'm just totally done with it, but then I can't really talk about what comes next quite yet.
Exciting. All
One
right.
thing I actually can talk about, I've actually made kind of another game already. It's for a game jam, so it's not like a full game.
Oh, right. Yeah.
It's called the Shock and Awe Game Jam. So the idea is to make a game that is scary, but also super cute. So the last couple of weeks, I've spent some time and I recruited a couple other developers here in Austin to like lend me a hand, including the guy who did the music for Kill It With Fire, Trevor Black, and we put together this game called Rough Night at the Museum. I'm hopefully I'm going to put it on Steam eventually. It'll just be free. It's just like a little 20 minute experience.
Well, hopefully by the time this goes live, it'll be up on Steam. So yeah, definitely.
Hopefully,
people go check that out.
You're in a museum, and there's like these paintings. They're all like famous paintings, like the Mona Lisa, Girl with a Pearl Earring, American Gothic. But the subjects aren't humans anymore; they're dogs. And when you're not looking at the paintings, they move around. And then sometimes a ghost version of the dog will come out of the painting. If it gets too close to you, it'll lick you, and then it fades to black, and then you have to restart that area. So it's kind of like the crying angels from Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like that, but with paintings of dogs in a museum.
That sounds awesome.
It's pretty silly, and it's pretty fun. I had my wife play it. We just kind of finished it last night, actually, and I had my wife play it, and she like screamed several times. So I think mission accomplished.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'll definitely, when that goes live, I'll keep an eye out on your social media and everything to see if that does go live.
Yeah, it's on itch already. So you can,
it is?
Yeah, you
cool.
can check it out right now.
I will definitely do that, like right after the show.
Awesome.
So I guess big picture question: if you could make anything with no budget restrictions or no IP restrictions or anything, what would you make?
I should have thought harder about my answer to this because you told me ahead of time you were going to ask, and I saw it, and then I just didn't even think about it. And I've got like a notebook that's just like full of game ideas. You know what I might actually make? If we're talking like really no budget restrictions, I might not even make a video game. I might instead choose to like make an escape room.
Like a real life video game.
A real life escape room or something along those lines. You can have like experiences that are like so much more powerful, I feel like, doing something like that than in a video game.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I love escape rooms, so it'd be really awesome to see. I'm sure there have been escape rooms that have been crafted by game developers before, but I don't know. I feel like that would be really cool.
I've made a couple. I started doing one like for Christmas for like my friends and family. Just out of like kind of homespun materials, and they're really fun to work on. But making something like larger with like really like wild production values, like Disney quality, like Disney theme park quality production values.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that'd be awesome. Cool.
Where you can integrate like electronic components in it, but also like physical stuff, and even have a kind of like game master person monitoring it and everything. So if money like really didn't matter, then maybe that's what I would choose to do.
Since I would assume that everybody that makes games gets into games because they liked games, I'd assume that you are probably a gamer. And if you're not, you can tell me I'm wrong. But if you are, what are you playing right now, other than obviously your own games?
Well, I think probably that's a misconception that probably most game developers probably don't play their own games. They play their own games least, because you're sitting there all day
for sure,
testing it and looking at it, and then it's like you're just like, I can't look at this anymore. Like it's a good sign if you want to play it some, but once you've been on a project for like months and months and months, it's probably pretty unlikely that you're just going to like continue to play it.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
At least with the kind of stuff I make, I think. I have been really into Destiny 2 for a while, so that's kind of like my go-to. Yeah, I'm really bad at keeping up with the times, though. Honestly, like as far as like the modern releases and stuff. Like I heard there's this game called Genshin Impact, but I don't know anything about it. People seem to think it's cool, but I like literally don't know anything about it.
Oh man, it's like taking over the internet right now.
Yeah, I played What the Golf recently. I thought it was amazing. It's like that is a game that's like truly after my heart, because it's so funny, but the jokes are like they're done in gameplay rather than through like clever writing or something like that.
For sure.
Which I think it's just like the purest use of the medium for humor, and it's not easy to do. I think you could compare it to like Charlie Chaplin or like Buster Keaton or something. Like the way their stuff is funny, it's this for the medium of film. It's the same way What the Golf is funny, kinda.
Dude, I will tell you, kind of back to the Destiny 2 thing. I don't know if I'm just not wired for like online persistent games, but I tried out Destiny 2 one of those times where it was like super cheap. And I feel like it's kind of just generally, at least the base game is super cheap
now.
Still. Yeah. Oh, is it really? Well, there you go. I paid $5 for it, I think, last Black Friday. So they got that $5 out of me. But I don't know, man. I couldn't get into it. I don't know what it was.
Yeah. Especially now, I'm not sure if it's really like if the new user experience, let's call it that, is very good compared to a game like World of Warcraft.
I mean, because there's been tons of like updates and stuff, right?
Yeah. I played World of Warcraft again for the first time in like 12 years or something. I played it last year. The like new user experience in WoW is so good.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's very good. Their gameplay loop. They stick you in an area. They kind of cordon you off from the rest of the world, and they get you kind of hooked on this cycle of like go to the guy with the exclamation mark above his head, get all of the quests, go do all the quests, come back. We'll send you over to another area, and you just like keep repeating that. You like get into that like rhythm of doing that, and you understand that that's what the game is, and that you're leveling up and you're moving to new areas, and it just like grips you so quickly. And I feel like where Destiny 2 fails is just in that like initial exposure to what it is. Like I don't you with the new light stuff, and maybe you even played it before that. It doesn't give you the training wheels I think you need to understand what the game is going to ask you to do. There's lots of stuff to do, and there's lots of awesome content, but you don't get the tools. The game doesn't provide the tools right out of the gate to allow you to parse that content in a way that's like meaningful. And I think that as a new, like when you say you don't get it, my guess is that like that's what you didn't get. It's like, well, why would I go do this? Like, why would I go do a strike? Why would I play Gambit? Why do I do any of this stuff? What am I trying to do? Like, there's aliens running around and I just shoot them. Is that the whole game? And,
it's kind of what it feels like.
But it's not. Like, it's what I think what Destiny is. What it doesn't tell you that it is. It's a game about collecting guns. And seriously, like that's all I care about is collecting guns and trying to get titles and stuff. And once you like start to understand what that gameplay loop is, the game starts to become really fun. Because the shooting is like top tier, I would say.
Yeah.
And then, to have like the game give you lots of good reasons to do that shooting, lots of carrots, you might call them, with all these like crazy exotic weapons you can earn and stuff like that. There's a lot of them, a whole lot.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely understand why it has its audience. I'm kind of surprised Destiny 2 has lasted as long as it has. And I guess that's good on Bungie because they know they've got their player base and it's pretty strong. And I feel like they've done at least a pretty good job of getting new people on. Just didn't work with me, but it seems like new people are still jumping on. But just the way that they've even said that they're going to bring Destiny 2 to PS5 and Series X to try and keep people still with it. And it seems like they are going to keep sticking with Destiny 2 at least for a while, as opposed to making Destiny 3.
I came on when Destiny 2 came out. I didn't ever play the first game. And like all anyone talked about is like how badly they messed up when they made Destiny 2 by like cutting the cord from all that old content and cutting a lot of the systems away and stuff. Like, I think that as a brand, I think Destiny probably came pretty close to dying right there. And then Bungie really pulled it together with the next expansion. And they've been going gangbusters ever since.
Right, and that's the thing is they seem to have been doing a really good job with their expansions, so that even if you are just a player that shows up for the new like story content or whatever, or just the new updates, it seems like there's a pretty good trickle of new updates to kind of keep you coming back, even if you aren't one of those people who just goes and grinds for the new guns or whatever, or just has a big friend group on there that plays like, every week or whatever.
Between that like seasonal trickle of content and the pretty large 3-year backlog of old content, there's a lot there. So it's funny like what games are trying to be now, especially big games. Like they don't want to be hits. It's not that they want you to like play the game for 40 hours and then be done. They want it to be the only game you play. That's what the big games are fighting over now.
Which is so tough for someone like me who just has like a single player mindset, you know?
Yeah, like are you going to be a Destiny player, or are you going to be a Warframe player, or a Fortnite player, or a Apex player, or PUBG? Like each of these is so demanding that you really only have time to do one of them. Plus maybe play, some indie games, or I don't know, try to have a life on the side a little bit.
I mean, and then like what we were saying earlier, I mean, if these kind of games just don't hit, then they don't hit. Because like we've seen recently, Marvel's Avengers has tried to do that, not a shooter. Most of these games are shooters, but it has tried to be, a persistent online game. And it did really well at launch, but then it's coming out now that the concurrent player numbers have dropped by like 90% from launch. Everybody's just gone.
Yeah, or what was that one that EA made with the fly around like Iron Man?
Anthem. Yeah.
That I think that's an even better example of like.
Oh, for sure.
They were trying to make Destiny. I mean, I guess it's still going. I don't think they've shut it down.
No, yeah, it's still going. It's very low key, and they promised like an Anthem like 2.0 kind of thing where they're gonna like completely like a lot of the stuff in the game's gonna change or get better from what I gather. So maybe it'll turn around for Anthem one of these days.
And that's really like I think the lesson actually is that you can't necessarily manufacture this. You just have to keep sticking with it. Like Warframe, which is one of the big competitors these days, was out for years and years before it kind of finally found its audience. So
for sure.
Part of it is just like you have to stick with it, and the big publishers may not be necessarily always willing to throw all that good money after bad that we need to do.
And I mean, as a single player guy, and this game isn't entirely single player now, but it always makes me think of No Man's Sky. How No Man's Sky was such a joke when it launched. Like it was so bad, and it was so just mismarketed. And now here, 3-4 years after its launch, it's an amazing game. A completely different game too. They just completely turned it around.
I actually tried it for the first time the other day.
Oh, really? What'd you think?
I didn't care for it.
You're ruining the narrative I had going here, man.
No. But I mean, I had heard that same narrative. I had heard the exact same things, and I was like, I had gotten Game Pass
Mhm.
on PC. What a win they've turned that into.
Oh,
Seems
for
like.
sure.
And I was like, I don't know, try this No Man's Sky thing finally. I mean, maybe it's because I understand how procedural generation works, but like, I just wasn't impressed. But I also, I didn't play it that much. Sometimes these things you got to play it for a long time before it really starts clicking. So,
Dude, I hate that kind of stuff, man. Like, oh yeah, Final Fantasy 13-3 is really great when you get 60 hours in. Like, okay. You know what I mean?
I get it. I think like Factorio is a good example of that. Like, I think Factorio is probably one of the best games ever made, but like you are not going to get it in hour 1.
Right.
But I think you'll get it by hour 5.
See, that's the thing. That's how I feel about. I mean, I'm a huge fan of the Persona games, and I feel that way with Persona. If you're jumping into Persona 3, 4, or 5 for the first time, it's not going to really click until you're a few hours in. But I feel like if you're asking me for like 30, 40, 50 hours, and then like, oh, but then it gets good. Like, who has the time for that? You know?
Absolutely not. Absolutely. That's why I can't play these like Dark Souls
Oh no,
games.
definitely
Just
not.
Can't do it. I can't get over that hump.
Yeah, I mean, as someone who works in games and just reviews a lot of games, the nature of my job is I'm always playing new stuff, and so there's always something new that I have to work on. So I'm the same way. That's another reason why I'm not into like Destiny or like Rainbow Six or even like Fortnite or anything like that. It's because I just don't. I don't have the time to commit to one game for a long time to get good at it, and it's the same way with Dark Souls. Like I'm just not naturally good at those kinds of games. So it doesn't feel like I don't have the time to pour into that to make myself amazing.
I guess
at
probably
any
once you
Souls
get your
games,
fluency in one of those games, it probably sticks with you to a degree.
Oh, I'm sure.
Across the others, even ones that aren't made by From Software, but after I got set back far enough trying like Dark Souls 3, I think I was just like, I'm done.
Yep. I was the same way with Bloodborne because I'm pretty big in the PlayStation community, and well, I mean, I'm pretty like into the PlayStation community, and everybody on there is like, "Oh, Bloodborne is the best game on the PS4. You've got to try it out." So I finally did, and I was the same way. I probably played it for 2 or 3 hours, and I just kept getting my ass handed to me, and was like, "I can't keep doing this. This
I mean, I
isn't
think
fun."
that it's about fluency. It's like they at this point, From Software is so established that they don't probably feel the need to like onboard people anymore. Like, not that Demon Souls is a game that's really known for like holding your hand, but I bet it did it a little bit more than. I mean, I don't know. I haven't really played either of these games.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining me on this first episode of the podcast. Do you want to go ahead? Yeah. Do you want to go ahead and like try and plug any of your social medias or anything?
Sure. Please follow me on Twitter. It's at Casey Donnellan, and maybe you can find that in the description of the podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
It's kind of hard to spell, so.
And then also, Kill It With Fire out on Steam. You can find Rough Night at the Museum on itch, and maybe on Steam by the time you're hearing this.
Yeah, hopefully.
Who knows? And I asked this last time. It's been 2 months. Is there any hope of a Kill It With Fire console port?
I'll keep your fingers crossed.
I will. I'll be the only one. If I'm the only one, I'll keep my fingers crossed for however long it takes. All right, man. Thanks so much for joining me.
All right, guys, that's it. That's the end of the second ever episode of Behind the Cutscenes. Thank you so much, Casey, for being on. You were a great guest. Loved talking to you, and I really hope that we can talk again in the future. As mentioned in the episode, you can find Casey's games on Steam. Kill It With Fire is on Steam. I believe it's also on the Epic Games Store. You can also find Ruff Night at the Museum on Steam. It finally went up on Steam. It's also on itch. I believe they're both free. So yeah, go out there and check it out. Now, like at the beginning of the show, I will remind you, of course, to follow us on Twitter. You can follow the podcast at Behind Cutscenes. You can follow me at Jakey Wakey with 2 Y's at the end. And you can follow Casey at Casey Donnellan. Those are all in the description as well, so go check it out. If you are listening on YouTube, make sure to like this, subscribe to the podcast, leave a comment, do all that great stuff. If you're on any podcast service, leave us a good review. Give us 5 stars. Tell everybody how much you love us. All right, guys, that's going to be it for today. Next week, we're going to have on Seth Chapman. He is a writer for the Daily Beacon that has worked with me for about a year now, and he's really great. We have a really great conversation, and I'm really looking forward to it. All right, guys, that's about it. So I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.